but I was terrified to quit my job. So I went to my coach at the time, James Krause. He was like, there's ways to make money. And I got into betting on MMA, like systematic thing where it's like 2 units on this person. And then he was this super well-respected guy. And because of the appearance of what this all looked like, it really tarnished his legacy.
3 years. That's how long the UFC's been trying to bury the stink from their last betting scandal. 3 years since James Krause went from respected coach to the face of one of the biggest controversies in MMA history. And guess what? It's happening again.
I have talked to multiple people who have either experienced or know of others who experience situations where they have been approached. Are you interested in throwing a fight for X amount of dollars?
This past week, the FBI got a call. Not just any call. This came straight from the UFC's own integrity team. Something smelled off.
We're with a company called IC360, and they are the best bet monitoring company in the business. So they told us that there was some unusual action going on with that fight. The fight plays out, first round finish. Literally, the first thing we did was call the FBI.
Hours before the fight, there was a sudden flood of bets, all on Yadir Del Valle, not just to win, but to finish Isaac Dulgarian in the first round. Like, everyone suddenly knew exactly what was about to happen. Then Dulgarian, a massive favorite, gets choked out first round. Exactly as predicted.
But as fighters, every now and then they take a count and they do take the road of least resistance. I just didn't see it being that kind of a battle. It looked almost like a cooperation.
Coincidence? Maybe. But here's the twist. If this turns out to be true, if someone really had inside information, this doesn't just shake one fighter. It shakes everything. The rankings, the reputation, the trust. So let's dig into what really went down last week and why this could be the biggest threat the UFC's ever faced.
Thank you to the fighting business. Absolutely amazing. One of my favorite new channels going right now.
Look, if you've been around MMA long enough, you're probably sitting here thinking, I've seen this before. And if you're wondering why, it's because you have. November 2022, James Krause. That's when everything went nuclear. At the time, Krause wasn't some random guy. He was the guy. Smart, tactical genius, and had Brandon Moreno training with him. Pretty impressive, right? He was breaking down fights on YouTube. People loved him. And yeah, he ran betting groups where people would pay to get his picks. Was it sketchy? Maybe. But it wasn't a secret. The UFC knew. We knew. I mean, everybody knew the man liked to gamble on fights. But then one night, something happened. Derek Minner versus Shailan Nuardanbiek, however you pronounce it. Minner was one of Krause's fighters, and minutes before that fight, sportsbooks started seeing this massive wave of money coming in, all on Nuardanbiek. First round knockout. The odds shifted like crazy, like someone just dumped a truck full of cash on one specific outcome. Then Minner walks out, throws a kick, and immediately grabs his leg. Can't move. Fight's over. Done. Exactly as predicted. The FBI was already watching by then. Within days, Krause's fighters got banned from competing. Minner got cut, Krause's coaching license suspended indefinitely. And just like that, one of the most promising minds in the sport became the poster child for corruption.
Ontario, the province in Canada, has banned betting on the UFC pending these investigations. You can't bet on UFC fights in Ontario and Alberta now in Canada, which is pretty huge for a major sport to have these things happen.
So, you'd think after that disaster, after all the headlines and investigation and embarrassment, the UFC would have locked this down tight, right? Wrong. Because just a week ago, we watched the same movie play out. Different actors, same plot. Yadir Del Valle versus Isaac Dulgarian. It was like deja vu. Same suspicious timing, same sudden betting swings, same chaos. Now, here's what makes this even crazier. Isaac Dulgarian, this guy was the clear fan favorite walking into this fight. And I'm not just saying that because of hype or whatever. He had the resume to back it up. Since turning pro in 2021, he built up wins that left everyone surprised. But here's the thing that got people excited. 6-round finishes. 6. And this wasn't some decision machine grinding out boring wins. Dulgarian came to finish fights. 4 knockouts, 3 submissions. The man could end your night whether you were standing or on the ground. And he'd been competing in solid promotions too. Won the FAC Featherweight Championship, and since joining the UFC back in August 2023, he'd only lost a split decision to Christian Rodriguez. He was a clean, aggressive, and exciting fighter. Everything fans wanted to see. So yeah, going into this fight with Del Valle, people were confident. Dulgarian had the experience, he had the finishes, he had the momentum. The betting odds reflected that. He was the heavy favorite, and it wasn't even close. Now, flip the script. Yadir Del Valle shows up with a perfect record, undefeated. On paper, that sounds terrifying, right? But here's the reality. He hadn't the same exposure as Dolgarian, less time in the spotlight, fewer highlight reels floating around social media. He was dangerous, sure, but he was still the underdog. And that's what made Fight Night so wild, because while everyone's expecting Dolgarian to do his thing, to add another first-round finish to his collection, something else was happening behind the scenes. The betting odds on Del Valle started moving hard, not the normal kind of movement you see when casual fans throw money around. This was different, aggressive, coordinated. Money flooding in on Del Valle to win by submission in the first round. Super specific. The kind of betting pattern that makes alarm bells go off in every sports book watching it. And then the fight happens. 3 minutes and 41 seconds into round 1. Del Valle locks up a rear naked choke. Dolgarian forcefully taps out. First round submission. Exactly what those bets predicted. Not just that Del Valle would win, that he'd submitted Dolgarian in round 1. This wasn't supposed to happen, but there it was, exactly as someone, somewhere, seemed to know it would go down. In response, sportsbooks started refunding bets on the fight. That almost never happens. You know how much money has to look suspicious for a sportsbook to just give it back? And the crazy part, now, it's not even about who won or lost anymore. It's about why. Because if these allegations are true, if someone really fed inside information to gamblers, we're not just talking about a bad bet. We're talking about the very foundation of the sport being compromised. The octagon used to be sacred. You win or lose based on skill, not secrets. But lately, it's starting to feel like someone's playing puppet master behind the scenes.
MMA is lost. The stakeholders of the sport have decided to take both boxing and MMA in a very particular direction, and it doesn't matter what level of dissent you offer, they're never going to agree to it. So the reality is, it's their sport now.
Here's the thing no one likes to talk about. Fighters aren't rich. Yeah, we see the big names, McGregor, Adesanya, Pereira, cashing million-dollar checks, but that's a tiny fraction of the roster. Most fighters, they're barely scraping by, training full-time, cutting weight, paying coaches, nutritionists, managers. It adds up fast.
You know, it's not fun working 10 hours a day and then going to try to train, get all the training you can get at night. Spending 10 hours away from my wife and kids was never fun for me. It was just something I had to do.
So when someone whispers in their ear, hey, take a dive, nobody will know, you'll walk away with 6 figures, that's not an easy decision to brush off.
Sean, Mick, my mom lives in a trailer right now, man. I need that 50 G's so I can help my mama, man.
I love those people, man. My mom's given me everything growing up. So I'm gonna die out there for her.
Because at that moment, it's not just about fighting, it's about surviving. Do you stay loyal to the sport you love, or take the money that could change your life? It's the oldest dilemma ever discussed, the war between money and morals. And in a world where one injury can end your career overnight, the temptation gets louder.
My advice would always be choose another sport because it's really tough to make. Like me and you, we're in probably the 0.01% of people who have a good living for the family out of MMA. 95% of people have never made any money who do MMA.
Now, to their credit, the UFC is not pretending everything's fine. After the Krause scandal, they banned fighters and coaches from betting on fights altogether. They even brought in a third-party integrity team, the same one that alerted the FBI about this latest situation. That's huge. It shows they know how fragile this trust is. But still, it's a fight that never ends, because as long as there's money to be made, there will always be people trying to game the system. And here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. Fighter pay has been a controversial topic for years, but scandals like this proves it's not just about fairness anymore. It's about survival of the sport itself.
You don't like the way we pay our fighters? Too fucking bad. Go start another MMA organization and you go fucking figure out how to do it. And you can pay them $10 million a fight, $30 million a fight, whatever you want to do.
When you've got a fighter making $20,000, $30,000 a fight, while the promotion's pulling billions, you're not just creating inequality, you're creating vulnerability. Because every fighter struggling to pay their bills becomes a potential target. Better pay isn't just the right thing to do, it's the smartest defensive move the UFC could make. When fighters are financially secure, when they're actually sharing in the success they help create, the risk of someone offering them cash to throw a fight becomes a lot less tempting. You can't build integrity on poverty. And right now, that's exactly what the sport's trying to do.
2 fights ago, you were driving Uber Eats. Is that true?
Short money. And my wife start to clean houses. and I'm starting to drive Uber because it's not just about like myself. This is about my family, you know. This is about my kids.
Sportsbook, syndicates, middlemen, they don't care about legacies. They care about profits. And the deeper you look, the more you realize how frequent this could be. 3 years ago, James Krause crossed a line that changed the UFC forever. And now, with the FBI once again on the phone, it feels like we're right back where we started. But here's the thing about scandals. They don't just expose corruption, they reveal character. Because in the end, it's not about the money. It's about the odds. It's about the fighter who refused to sell their souls for a payday, the ones who step into that cage knowing the risk, but still fight for something pure. And as fans, that's all we really want, to believe that when the cage door closes, it's real, that what we're watching isn't fixed or bought or staged. So yeah, maybe this new scandal is ugly, but if it forces the sport to clean up, to stay honest, to protect what makes it special, maybe it's worth it. Because the truth is, fighting's always been about more than punches and kicks. It's about integrity, it's about honor, and in a world full of odds and numbers, that's the one thing you can't bet on.